Hey, how's it going? A couple of months ago, I posted a video called Items I'm Never Adding to My Wardrobe Again. And this got me thinking about the opposite. So, things that I know for sure I've loved for a long time and I feel like will always have a place in my closet. So, what I want to talk about are items or certain details of a garment that I specifically look out for. And again, this is just coming from my own experience through lots and lots of trial and error throughout the years. And for some of these, I have really clear explanations as to why I love them so much. But for others, I like them because I like them. So let's talk about what they are. The first item on my list is an oversized button-down shirt or a jacket. There's this Japanese model that I really like and admire named Yano Shio. And a long time ago, I remember her talking about her own love for these button-down poplin shirts and how they are a must-have item for any woman over the age of 30. And this was like 10 years ago, so I couldn't really relate back then, but now I finally understand what she meant by that. Because a simple oversized button-down is just so comfortable, so chic. You can hide any part of the body that you don't necessarily want to show, and it adds a level of polish to your look right away. So even if I'm wearing it with a super casual getup like sweatpants and a tank top, I know that instantly I'll look a little bit more put together, and obviously I can always dress it up if I wanted to. So an oversized button down has become a true staple in my wardrobe in recent years, and I've got them in many different colors with slight variations in design for some of them, and some definitely get more wear than others, but I feel like every single one of them still get a ton of wear all year round. Particularly, I like the ones made with crisp cotton material, and I prefer an oversized fit than a regular fit, partially because I just love anything oversized, but also because of this next detail that I want to talk about, which is a drop shoulder hem. And this is something I've mentioned in my previous video on tips for broad shoulders, that I find the width of my shoulders to be the most accentuated when the seam lines meet the end of my shoulders exactly. So I always try to go for something that's either slightly narrower or a drop shoulder design. And between the two, I prefer the drop shoulders because I think it just creates a bit more of a natural oversized look. And like I said, I'm a huge fan of an oversized silhouette. I think it always adds a little bit of that coolness factor. So I'd rather size up in my garment than size down if I had to choose between the two. But I think it also depends on the specific design of the garment. So drop shoulder detail is something that I always look out for, and this is not only for button-down shirts, but also for things like sweatshirts, hoodies, oversized t-shirts, etc. The next couple of details I want to talk about are related to the neckline, with the first being a v-neck. Another tip that I mentioned in the broad shoulders video is that because our neck and shoulders are connected, if you have a shorter neck, then automatically that makes the shoulders look a little bit wider and vice versa, which is why I love any styles that elongate my neck, and a v-neck is a great choice for that. And this is something I didn't realize before, but when I got my body type consulting in Korea earlier this year, I was told that I actually have a bit of a wide neck, which might also explain why I always opt for styles that elongate the neck more. I'm pretty much open to any other necklines that don't close off this area too much. So I like a scoop neck, I like a square neck. So any sort of deep necklines I'm down for, but a v-neck is definitely my favorite out of all of them. Some of you know that I did a 90-day style challenge recently, and I noticed that the items that didn't get as much wear as I thought they would were crew neck tops. So I know the usual tip for a lot of people is that a basic crew neck t-shirt is always going to be a closet staple, but that's not really the case for me. Another neckline detail that I love and will always go for is an off shoulder or an asymmetrical shoulder. So something like this. So whenever I talk about my shoulders, I feel like some of you are always a little bit concerned, like you don't have to dislike your shoulders so much. And I've had to clarify many times that I actually like my shoulders. It's just that I don't like making them look any wider because they're already the widest part of my body. So I actually like showing off my shoulder with an off-shoulder top, like an asymmetrical one like this specifically. I do like the look of the off shoulders on both sides, but those tops are so uncomfortable and I just much prefer the one shoulder off. I think it adds a little bit of subtle sexiness to the look, but depending on the material, the top can also look very casual. I'm actually eyeing a top from Cotton right now. I think it's a part of their new 2025 fall winter collection. And I've been debating about it because I feel like it might look a little too similar to the top that I'm wearing. It is a different material and it does look a little bit more casual, like I said. But do I really need another black top that looks almost identical to this one? I don't know. I'm just kind of sitting on the idea for now. The next detail I want to talk about is a ribbed fabric, especially with knitwear. I really don't like chunky knits or any sort of like cable knit details because I feel like it adds more broadness to my upper body, and again it has to do with the overall proportions. But I feel like a ribbed material just adds a bit more of a fitted look to the sweater. I really like how the stretches of the ribs just hug my body in the right way, and granted it probably somewhat has to do with the thickness of the material as well. Like if the fabric is too thick, then it's still gonna look chunky in the end. So the key is to find a thin enough material that is also ribbed. I also feel like a ribbed fabric makes a garment look a little bit better in terms of quality, and it makes it look a bit more polished. It might have to do with the added texture or because the material just feels a little bit more durable. And then when it comes to long sleeves, a specific detail that I really like is having the length of the sleeves pass the wrist slightly like this. This is a detail that pairs especially well with the ribbed fabric we just talked about. So there's a little bit of tightness around the wrist, but even for things like oversized sweatshirts or hoodies, I always like the sleeve length to be slightly past the wrist. And I'm not really sure what it is about this detail that I love so much. I feel like it makes me look a little bit more delicate, and I think it can also look really good with accessories like bangles if the sleeves are fitted enough. But it's something that I also need to be a little bit careful with because if the sleeves are too long, then it becomes a hassle. So there's a few tops that I have where I like everything but the length of the sleeves. So the sleeves are either a little bit too short, like right around the wrist, or they're slightly too long so they pass my middle knuckles, and with those I find I always have to roll up the sleeves. So the length has to be just right, and this is a very particular detail that I've been trying to pay more attention to these days because I've really been making an effort to edit my closet to only leave the items that I absolutely love every detail of. And speaking of closet curation, I think that having a few go-to colors are great for editing your closet. My personal staple colors are black, brown, and green. I mean, I love other colors like gray or navy or even yellow, but I feel like with black, brown, or green, I really can't go wrong with any shades or tones of these colors. And this is something that I've talked about in my previous video as well, that the colors that you find the most of in your closet are probably clues to finding your best colors. And because my best colors are deep and warm, it kind of makes sense that I have the most of these three colors in my closet. So I'm somebody that's been really happy with the color trends of recent years, with like the olive and pistachio greens and all shades of brown and even burgundy. I just find that it makes shopping so much easier, and it also makes looking for outfit inspiration so much easier as well. And then when it comes to black, I just don't know if I can give it up regardless of what my best colors are. I think black is just way too practical. It's chic, and the emotions, the mystery, the coolness factor, like it's got everything that I like, that I just can't live without black in my closet. So the top that I'm wearing currently actually has many of the details we just talked about. The color is obviously black. It has the off-shoulder detail. It's like a ribbed knit material, and the sleeves are slightly long. So this is actually one of my favorite tops, and I'm so glad the weather is finally cool enough that I can wear it again. Now I want to move on to talking about some details when it comes to bottoms, and the most important one for me is wide legs or a loose fit. And of course, I've been all over the skinny jeans trend throughout 2010s, but back then I also didn't care for things like getting enough blood flow through my legs. But now, not so much. A lot has changed, and comfort has definitely become a much more integral part of my style choices, that anything that restricts my legs too much is an absolute no. Also, proportions wise, like I said, my shoulders are the widest part of my body, so it kind of makes sense for me to opt for wide legs to balance things out. And according to my body type analysis from earlier this year, apparently materials that are too tight against my skin are not good choices for me. I also sit at my desk all day for work. I have pretty bad posture, so I have really no good single reason why I should be wearing tight pants. Unless, of course, they're leggings, but these days I don't even wear leggings that much anymore. I much prefer wide leg sweatpants. Now, speaking of sitting in posture and comfort, another detail that I always welcome is an elasticated waistband. I love jeans, but they're definitely not the most ideal for my day-to-day activities. So they've either gotta be baggy enough that there's minimal restrictions when I'm sitting down, or I gotta pick the days when I know for sure I'm not sitting around a whole lot to wear jeans. Even for trousers, I always prefer and appreciate a waistband detail at the back, even though not all of my trousers have them. So the tricky part for me is to find pants with elasticated waistbands, but still don't look too sloppy. So that's been sort of my main goal for pants shopping these days. Oh, and the material has to be thick enough for colder weather. Now, when it comes to skirts or dresses, the one detail that I really love is a bias cut. And in case you don't know what bias cut is, it's essentially using diagonally cut fabric to construct the garment so that when you wear it, the fabric sort of pulls in a way that hugs and skims the body. So this is a technique that's often used for things like slip dresses or satin or silk skirts. And I just feel like there's something so feminine and elegant about a bias cut garment. Like the way it hangs off the body I feel like it adds such a sensual allure to the look. And personally, I feel like it makes me look a little more elongated. And as somebody who is 5'3", 5'4", it's a detail that I absolutely love, and I'm always down to add more bias cut garments into my wardrobe. So those are the 10 items and details that I love and look out for. Maybe you were able to relate to some of them, or maybe you got some takeaways for things to look out for in your own closet or the next time you go shopping. Let me know in the comments about your own experience with this list, or if you have your own list of items or details that you love, please share with me and the group. I hope you liked the video, and I'll see you in my next one. Until then, stay unique and stay gorgeous.